Let's get started. Welcome everyone. Firstly, thanks for joining our Building Your COVID Safety Plan Return to Play webinar, which is the first in a series of webinars that we're going to be presenting to New South Wales cricket community clubs and associations over the coming weeks as we prepare for starting our season, which I think everyone's really excited that we've at least got some idea that we will be playing cricket this year. So this is the first really important part of making sure that we're ready to start playing cricket come October or November. Firstly, I'll just run through the agenda. I'd like to start by acknowledging the lands of the Wiradjuri people, which is the people of the lands, traditional lands that I live and reside and work on, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. We'll go through some introductions. We'll do some presentations then on creating COVID safety plans, obtaining your QR code for venue access. We'll do a bit of a update on where to from here, and then we'll do some thank yous and closing at the end. First of all, housekeeping. We do love having you here. We love seeing and hearing from you, but we're anticipating over 450 people being on this call tonight. So we will ask that due to the size of the numbers, we are recording and it will be released on our website. So if we can ask that cameras are turned off just to help with that bandwidth and help with us presenting. And also microphones will be muted and we'll be holding off towards the end of or after the session for any extra questions that you may have. We did get a lot of questions in the registration process, over 150 of them. And obviously within an hour session, that's really, really hard to answer all those questions in a meaningful way. So we are going to ask that. We're hoping that a lot of the questions will be answered within this session, but we're asking if you do have any other questions at the end to email the COVID support at cricketnewsouthwales.com.au email address and make sure that you do utilise that COVID support email as much as you possibly can because we do monitor that all week, every week in the lead up to the season. Your questions will be answered then. Some introductions of the Cricket New South Wales staff in this session have been driving this session for tonight. Joanne Scanlon, our General Manager, Community Cricket Experience. We've got myself, my name's Luke Olsen, I'm the Area Manager for South West New South Wales, and I'm also the Project Lead for the Return to Play Working Group that's been working feverishly in the background to make sure that you all get as much reliable, relevant information as you possibly can leading into the season. We've got Brett, Steve, Kelly and Javed from our Community Cricket Experience team, all subject matter experts in what we do and how we deliver, and they will be actually presenting to you tonight on aspects of developing your COVID safety plan and also your QR code. Shane, good to see you got a drink with you tonight. I am going to hand over now to Joe, who's going to run through where we're at with vaccinations. Over to you, Joe.
Great. Well, thank you, Luke, and good evening, everyone. And thank you for the opportunity to talk to you tonight around vaccinations, a very important subject and a very delicate subject. So before I start, I just wanted to put a big thank you out to Luke, to Brett, to Javed, to Steve and Kelly, who are on the call tonight as the team presenting, and to the work they've done to prepare for this presentation. So a big thank you to our Return to Play working group and to the wider community cricket team. So thank you. Luke, we've just lost oh, yep, we're back again. Okay. So to the topic of vaccinations, and as I said, a very delicate subject because of of where we're at. And let me just say that, we are being very mindful of what society is saying around vaccinations. And so, you know, New South Wales Cricket, or Cricket New South Wales, has embarked on a consultation process. So it was important for us to hear from the community cricket teams, from our associations, from clubs around their views on vaccinations. So that work was done in September. So that is now complete. And really what we were looking to do was to provide to the government a view, a voice from across New South Wales. So we took that voice to the New South Wales Government, to New South Wales Health, and we believe it is helping and guiding them in their decision making as to when community sport opens, how it opens safely. And so I just, probably the biggest point to the vaccinations is, you know, Cricket New South Wales is working with the government around these guidelines for vaccinations. Cricket New South Wales does not have its own vaccination policy. So please be assured that we are working with the government. We are following government regulations because they're the experts. So, you know, be assured that what is coming out from within our communications is very much coming from the government. Okay, so please be assured that we are working with New South Wales Health to be able to provide you with that comfort that you know, around the position of vaccinations. So I just wanted to open on that. A big thank you to the team, and thank you to everyone for joining tonight. So now I'm going to hand over to Javed.
Thank you, Joe, and welcome everyone from around the state. Thanks for letting us into your homes tonight. So I'll go through the COVID safety plan, the requirements of it, and I'll give you a brief run through of how to fill out the COVID safety plan. Just noting, this is an evolving beast. Information provided tonight is as of the 30th of September. As restrictions change and government advice changes, you know, there will be a requirement to update your COVID safety plans. So why do we need one? It's been pointed out by the government that it's a requirement for sporting organisations and for community sport to return. If you've previously filled out one, we're asking you to update that. The templates, they change constantly to stay up to date with what government advice is coming out. So August, there was a change to the template. There was another one in September. And as things change again, we'll expect changes to that template going forward. So your COVID safety plan, as I said, will require updating to stay current with our public health orders. And just to note that your public health order is always going to take precedence over your COVID safety plan. So perfect example, you might have a COVID safety plan, which allows you to have 50 people. Restrictions get put into place, reducing that number down to 20 or 5, whatever that number might be. Those advice takes precedence. Councils will ask for a COVID safety plan to book fields in a lot of cases. And most of all, your COVID safety plan is, you know, provides some peace of mind and helps you as clubs and associations provide a little bit of protection to your community and to your participants, you know, your volunteers and officials. All right. So I'll take you through the COVID safety plan now. In just a moment. So Luke, if you could just give me a thumbs up when that's
all there, mate. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. So the New South Wales Government website, COVID safety plans, we use the outdoor events. The reason for that is there's no template for community sport. Outdoor events is probably the most appropriate or fit for purpose template available. And it really allows the maximum people to be able to participate in community sports. So that's the reason why we use that template. When you go into the template, you scroll down. Just to clarify what COVID-19 safe outdoor gatherings and controlled outdoor events, the differences between the two. So a controlled outdoor event is an event where it's fenced in, it's ticketed, and there's allocated seating. So for community sport purposes, that doesn't fit. That's why we fall under the COVID-19 safe outdoor gatherings, and we'll follow the protocols for that. When you click on complete the COVID safety plan, it'll open up an online version and you'll step through and fill out the different sections. So your business name will be your club name, your location, just the suburb that you play. Select your business type, again, COVID safe outdoor gatherings. Completed by, it's just whoever completes the COVID safety plan. It's a member of your committee or whoever's leading the COVID safe implementation, and just an email so you can receive the COVID safety plan. I'll just flick through to one that we prepared earlier, and note this will be available on the Cricket New South Wales website in the COVID-19 information section. And we've provided some considerations and some sample responses for you to put into your plans. We're not asking you to copy paste this, but really take some of the wording or take some of the questions that we've offered and then build out your own one. You know, perfect one for this, how do you exclude staff performers? When we say staff performers and attendees, think of participants, officials, volunteers. We've highlighted the considerations, sample responses, and opportunity just to change and put your organisation name. And then there's some hyperlinks to different websites or information that you can provide for your clubs. All right. Again, providing staff with information and training. We're not asking you to put on a training session, just divert people towards where to get that information. Displaying conditions of entry. So, you know, this is conditions of participation. You'll have that most likely in some signage, so people are aware when they show up to the grounds to participate, and things like that would be your QR codes. You have those facing so people can check in and check out when they come to your venue. So a good point to make here, the other types of venues or facilities, they're talking about a sub-premises. So if you have a canteen or a licensed bar on your facility that you use, you will need to create a separate COVID safety plan for that using the hospitality template. Much of the questions are the same, but you'll just need to go a little bit deeper into things like your cleaning protocols, the limit the amount of people that are allowed in that area, and how you're going to control certain things like the serving of alcohol. If that's not applicable to you, just say there is no sub-premises. And you'll find throughout this there may be sections that just aren't applicable to you because you don't have a canteen or an indoor facility, so you would just say not applicable. Physical distancing, so just back to that point of having safe outdoor gatherings, we fall under the capacity of 50 people right now. And within that, the government advice has been 20 people, limit your groups to 20 people, and limit your venue, the amount of people at your venue, to 50. Okay, so that 50 is regardless of age. Physical distancing and areas to think about here is your canteens, where people line up, where people sort of mix, or if you have seating areas, you'll need to clearly mark out where people can stand 1.5 meters apart. And, you know, part of that will be communicating that out to your volunteers or your spectators. Interesting point here will be your training nets. You want to limit the amount of people within your training nets environment to 5 per net at any one time. I'll scroll down to some more relevant sections. So public transport, it's more about communicating people to use their own private where possible. You want to try and bring your operations outdoors. So if you're able to bring your canteen or your bar operations outdoors, away from an indoor area. Ventilation. So if you have indoor areas, they're asking you how you're going to promote natural ventilation and fresh air through that area. If you don't have an area or you're choosing not to use that area, just say not applicable. I'll scroll down to the hygiene section. So face masks, that's all going to be depending on what the public health orders are. So it's you'll have to stay up to date with that. Indoor facilities, for example, right now, you'll have to wear a mask. In the future, that might change. Adopting good hygiene practices. So throughout this section, you really want to outline how you're going to communicate personal hygiene, telling or asking your members to have their own hand sanitizer, and how you're going to work with council to make sure that soap, paper towels and your amenities buildings are going to stay well stocked and clean. So there's creating some communication lines with council. If you have indoor areas such as canteens, you'll just outline how you will clean those areas. And we're suggesting that you create a register, a cleaning register, and follow that. Probably the big one is record keeping. So using the New South Wales Government QR code system is mandatory for this year. So we can no longer create our own ones or create our own electronic sheets. Everyone moves over to that New South Wales Government check-in with the Service New South Wales, and hence the requirement to have QR codes around at each venue. We'll go into that a little bit further later on in the presentation. And there's a section there about processes to put into place to make sure people have checked in. So really, we're not asking you guys to volunteers to police this. We're just asking you to remind your participants to check in on arrival and check out on the way out. Okay, so that's all. Once you complete that, at the end of that, you will see email as PDF, and that will be sent to your email. And what we're suggesting is to put that COVID safety plan up on your website, so people are able to view that. And if at any time an authorising officer asks for it, you can point them to the website to view the most up-to-date COVID safety plan. A copy of this will be on the Cricket New South Wales COVID-19 information page, along with some other resources. I'll hand over to Brett now, who will take you through some support documents to assist our clubs and associations.
Excellent, thank you, Javed, and good evening, everyone. I can confirm that that document is already available on the website. So if you just go to cricketnewsouthwales.com.au, you'll find some tiles on the main page that will direct you to our section on COVID-19. We felt it was important to provide you all with some practical examples or some templates to put into place some of the sample responses that we've suggested for the COVID safety plan. This is a sort of a final draft, if you like, of the document we're putting together, and so as such, it's not available on the website yet, but it will be in the coming days. It won't help you to fill out the COVID-19 safety plan, but it will help you to implement the pledges that you're making in that plan, and to make sure that what you're committing to actually gets done and ensures the safety of your participants. So we've got a contents page here, and we try to set it out in a way that probably mirrors the chronological order that you'll work through between now and the season starting. So starting with like informing your volunteers of the requirements, and then moving on to members in working through general principles, and then return to training, and then return to play. Towards the end, we have a series of suggested committee agenda items, and also a summary of the particular combinations of COVID safe signing that you might wish to use. But as with Javid's example, it really will depend on your particular organisation, your club or association, as to which of these templates are relevant, which of them are going to be of most use, which signage packs are relevant. So we've tried to provide as wide an example as possible. We're very aware that the operations of our clubs and associations vary quite widely, from fairly straightforward to very complex, depending on the operating environment. So we're trying to cover all bases for you here. If I just scroll through, you can get a bit of an idea of how we set it out. The idea being that you could effectively copy and paste this into MyCricket or Outlook, or your preferred method of communication. Obviously, the wording is fully adjustable for yourselves, but it gives you a bit of an idea of what we think might be required to make sure that those commitments, and if you're using any of our sample responses, are met. Where relevant, especially when communicating more broadly to members, you'll find that we've tried to provide like a short and condensed version for use on social media, either through Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. I might just do a bit of a fast scroll here to go through some of the committee agenda items. The committee agenda items really help you to reach decisions and actually delegate or create action items for specific individuals. And you'll hear later in our presentation a little bit more about the concept of COVID safety champion. But a lot of these are, to discuss and resolve certain commitments, or to answer those questions that the government's put in the COVID safety template. And there's a few sample emails in here as well, where we understand that there's varying arrangements as to facilities, whether the operational responsibility falls on a club, or if it's instead the purview of a council or some other body. So where we can't have complete responsibility or operational control, we've got some templates there to write to the owner or the operator of that asset to request the types of things that are being asked by the COVID safety plan template. Last of all, down the bottom, we've got the signage pack. So it's links to the New South Wales Government provided and endorsed signage regarding COVID-19. Some of it refers to the QR code check-in process. Others around the typical things that have been at play for the last 18 months around physical distancing, mask wearing indoors, where it's required under public health orders, basic hand sanitisation, room capacity limits. So we've got some lists here as well of where some of these different locations within a facility and which set of signage we feel might be appropriate. But again, it's really up to the individual club to work out what is required. And in a moment, I'm about to hand over to my colleague Steve, who will take you through a little bit more about the QR code.
Thanks, Brett. I'm just going to bring up a leading template for Steve to work off. Over to you, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, Lucy. Thanks, Brett, and thanks to everyone for giving up their evening to come and sit with us this evening. So, look, obviously everybody's fairly familiar these days with the Service New South Wales QR check-in process. the New South Wales Government has stipulated that this is the process that we're to use for all our cricket-related activities as per the public health order. The COVID safety plan that Java's just run you through there, also it includes a commitment obviously to using this system, so it's very important that we take that on board and embrace. So basically every venue that we're using for cricket-related activities, whether they be training, game day or after match activities, will require a QR code to check in. Just bearing in mind there that in some jurisdictions local councils may be providing these. So what I'll sort of run you through here shortly is a plan A if they're not, and a plan B if that is the case. So I'll just share my screen now, and I'll just run you through the process. It's a fairly straightforward process. I'm just waiting for this screen share option to come up here. PC's having a little go slow moment, as they do.
Got you now, Miko.
Got it now, Steve. Thanks, mate.
Too easy. Alrighty. So basically, there's a few options here. So in our region, I'm actually based up in Coffs Harbour in the northern New South Wales region. So these options probably will vary a little bit from metro to regional sort of application, but yeah, basically there's a couple of options. You can create single QR codes, or you can use a bulk upload template in order to create as many as you need. In the case of an association, for instance, you could create a one-stop shop that'll give you multiple QR codes to cover all your venues right through your competition. So obviously we're using the My Cricket venue list. Everybody knows the My Cricket's gospel, it never lies. So basically to find that, for those of you who have association admin access, so you just navigate through to your competitions tab as pictured there and go to it's actually venue edit. The little circle there is slightly askew, so you hit the venue edit button. That'll give you an option to basically download a venue list. You just scroll to the bottom of the venue list that comes up on your screen, download the venue list and just pocket that for now until we're going to fill in a little spreadsheet later on where you can bulk upload those if that's your chosen method. So basically the process just is via the Service New South Wales website. So just Google QR code for Business Service New South Wales as pictured there and click on, usually it would be the first link there. So scroll down the page until you find the registers as a COVID safe business hyperlink. Click that one and you'll see the two options there. So in the circle there's a 1 to 19 business or business locations option, which will immediately bring up your business details fields that you can then start to fill in. So I've just made a note there that business name is absolutely critical. That's actually what will appear on the app when people log into your venue. So really it must include the ground name. So if you're doing this as an association or a club with multiple venues, it's a good idea to have My Club CC and then a hyphen and then the ground name, so people know they're actually checking into the correct venue. So once you've submitted your business details there, you basically just click the submit button. You'll get an immediate email with a link to your QR code. So this is a perfect scenario for a single club training venue scenario, or if your club has one ground that they look after, you can get your QR code up and running immediately. So it's a good option there. If you're approaching this as an association, out here in the sticks, we've actually gone to a cricket council region. So there's 40 or 50 grounds that are used within those areas, and we've bulk uploaded in some areas all of those grounds and register them under the council. You could obviously go down to association level, for instance, in the metro areas would be more appropriate. Basically, you click on your 20 or more business name locations option there, and just click the hyperlink that says bulk registration form. That will take you to this page here, where you can download your template. So that's just an Excel document that you can then use the ground lists that we previously downloaded from MyCricket. You can type those into this bulk upload template and just apply for all your QR code or venue QR codes in one sitting, which is a pretty simple process. It works quite well. So once you open your template, you'll see here the business field refers to the same business field I referred to earlier, where you really need to make sure your ground name is listed in there. So I've just provided a little example there. Fitzroy Oval is the name of the ground, and the abbreviation for the association was CHDCA. So it's actually the Coffs Harbour District Cricket Association for those interested. So that's and you will be provided with a cheat sheet after this webinar. It'll be available on the Cricket New South Wales website, as Brett alluded to earlier. That will run you through a little instruction cheat sheet as to how to fill in the rest of this document here. So moving on here, once your template's complete, so you might have 30 or 40, 50 grounds in this spreadsheet, complete your business details as per the right hand side here, upload your document using the choose file option there, and then just click submit. One really key thing to consider here is this can take up to 3 business days once this application is submitted. So it's not an immediate thing, but they've been relatively efficient in recent times. So sort of within the 3 business days, you'll have a full list of QR codes. Once that process is complete, you'll receive an email. So once they've processed your application and provided your QR codes, you'll receive an email that looks very much like what's on the right hand of the screen here now, with a link to each individual venue. So you can basically click on a venue hyperlink. Oh, hello. And you'll come up with this page here on the right hand side. So it's a little two-stage process to get through to your QR code. Click the view and print your QR code option, and then you'll see what we're all used to seeing at the door of your local businesses, just your Service New South Wales QR code. Important to note also that the venue, as you can see there circled right at the bottom, is in quite small print, but it does sort of prevent you mixing the QR codes up. If you're applying for multiple QR codes, you can easily separate those and make sure everybody's installing the right QR codes at various venues. So moving on, this is just a little added extra that some of our cricket managers up here have provided for use on the association websites. So we've just basically used a snipping tool to pull out the QR codes themselves, so we can have multiple QR code options on one single document loaded to association or club websites, which enables you to log into a QR code, as somebody at the venue can bring this up on their phone or tablet, and in the event that the QR codes that have been provided in laminated form at the venue are vandalised or missing, or for some reason not working, there is a plan B option there. So that's probably about me for now. What I might do is hand back to Lukey and give Kel a little go. She's going to run you through a few little scenarios from now. Thanks, Luke.
Thanks, Steve. I will just share my screen again and hand over to Kel.
Thanks, Lukey. Thanks, everyone, for joining. I'm joining from the downtown village of Wollongbean today, which is notorious for not having great internet service. So I'll leave my camera off in the hope that you can get all the information that I'll deliver. While not a fan of reading from slides, so to speak, I am aware that some of you are joining from phones and other devices where these templates may not be as accessible as what they are to us. But again, a reminder that we do have the recording. So appointing a COVID safety champion, we've called it a champion to come away from the terminology of officer or marshal in the capacity that we've had those in football. We don't believe at this stage that the New South Wales government will enforce those for us. However, as we've alluded to multiple times tonight, that could change, and we are very much at the mercy of the government giving us the directions as we go through the next couple of weeks. But appointing somebody who's going to be at the club and association to be the lead and the person to take responsibility to just make sure that the boxes are ticked. It might be more than one person, for example, one in juniors and one in seniors, but it's a fail-safe to ensure that somebody is the go-to person to tick all of those boxes. Creating a safety plan, as Jarvid has gone through extensively tonight, it is a tedious process, and we understand that, but it's an essential component for your ground bookings and also meeting the conditions that the government have set for us to return to train and return to play. So unfortunately, while being tedious, it is imperative that we get it done. But the most important part of it is that we understand what the components are in there as people on the ground, and that we communicate the content to everybody. So God forbid, in the instance that you do have somebody turn up to the ground and check your safety plan, the people that are in attendance at the ground, captain mainly, they know what's in the safety plan and they can convey that information reliably to whoever's checking up. And lean on us for support. That's probably the biggest message, is continue to lean on us for support. You guys are volunteers, we get that. Your time poor, you don't get paid, we do. So lean on us as much as you need to. In terms of signage, we know that there's a lot of signage available, so use it to your advantage. These will be venue specific, obviously, as we've alluded to, in terms of having canteens, having bars, that sort of thing. Out in the bush where I am at the moment, where we're lucky if we've got a tree at some of our grounds. So they will be venue specific, but use them. We've learned a lot from our winter sports about where your issues present. They present at canteens, they present at toilets, they present at designated smoking areas and weather shelters. In the instance that we do have a downpour of rain at a game, we know people are going to huddle under shelter, and the same for extremely hot days, they're going to huddle under shade. So just be aware, have that signage there to remind everybody so that we don't get complacent in what we need to do. In relation to QR codes, we've gone over those extensively. Have a clear understanding of who's responsible for what, and always have a backup, as Steve spoke about. Have a backup for your backup. So if we do have damage to a QR code on site, we can have them stored on your MyCricket website. We can have copies of them laminated in the captain's kit bag with your scorebook or your scoring device. Just have a backup so that we've always got that. It is imperative that we are getting everybody to check in at the venues. That's one of the most important boxes that we do need to tick. So have a backup for your backup. And most importantly, share the information far and wide. Make sure it's on your socials, talk about it, get it communicated right throughout your clubs and associations. They are the ones that will get you through. They're having that communication out to everybody. And also remember that we're all in this together. No one wants us back on the field more than me and more than us as Cricket New South. So we're here to support you. So lean on us as much as you need to. So handing back to you now, Lukey.
Thank you for that. That's excellent. Great insight, great information there. Hopefully a lot of this information has answered some of the questions that you already had put into the registration process. But we are here. The COVID support email is your go-to if you have any questions. But yeah, really thankful that we've got this information on hand at the moment to be able to provide to you so that you can get out on the field as quickly as possible. So top 3 key messages to take out of tonight: have your COVID champion at the club or the association. That person who understands what the requirements are is the go-to person or people for the club or association. Your COVID safety plan, we're likening it to a license to be able to play. So make sure you have that in place. Utilise the information that we've got and the resources that we've got to get that in place, because that is the vital piece of information you need when you're out there training or playing, is having that COVID safety plan in place. And then your QR code application as well, really, really important. Obviously, things are moving quickly. There is a lot of information that comes out on a regular basis from both the government and also from us. So keep an eye out. We will be releasing information on a regular basis, and we're hoping on how that training and playing, more information will be coming out next week based on what we receive from the government. So in saying that, I'd really like to thank everyone for attending tonight. We had 374 people on the call, which was overwhelming. We expected it to be an important session for clubs and associations, but the response has been fantastic, and we're really thankful that we're able to give you that information. I'd really like to give a big call out to the group that did present to you tonight. A lot of work has gone on in the background to get this information as clear and as succinct and as correct as possible for you. But like we've said all along, we're going to give you that information based on what we know right now. And when we do need to give you updates, we will in a timely manner. So yeah, thanks for attending. I hope you've got something out of it. Again, email that COVID support at cricketnewsouthwales.com.au